But so let's start about you, Brett. You're a candidate for our City Council, Ward 3, southeast corner of Mason City, a seat currently held by Gene Marinas. Tell me about yourself, Brett, your campaign, what's important to you, what you envision for Mason City, and how you're going to take us there.
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up in Garner, Iowa. It's about 30 miles to our west. Went to college at University of Tulsa right out of high school. I wanted to get the heck out of North Iowa.
You're a math whiz. Isn't that right? You're a math guy.
Yeah, I studied earth science, like physics, down at University of Tulsa. So yes, I am good at math.
So you're way out of my league.
I don't know about that. I do enjoy that, and that comes into my business a lot. I'm a real estate agent, and I do a lot of commercial and residential real estate and development now.
Certainly.
Obviously, math's a huge part of that, doing
certainly
speculation about apartments and industrial, retail, commercial. So yeah, that's I enjoy that. I moved back to the area in 2003.
Okay.
And just wanted to be back into North Iowa. I was in music at the time, and I wanted to come back and move. Wanted to start a family. Didn't want to do it in a van down by the river.
Yeah.
And I traveled all over the country, and I'd actually lived in a couple different cities that, when you visit them, they're really great. And
right.
But after the first month, I found out that every place is pretty much the same thing.
Sure.
You go to 2 grocery stores, you go to 1 library. You kind of create a community around yourself.
Right.
So what I found that was important to me was to be around. I wanted to be back by my family. I have 4 brothers and my mom and dad.
Right.
And at the time, I had my grandmother and my
kind of all in the real estate business, also, right?
We are, yeah, and not at the time. Not at the time. They weren't back then. Just there was a couple brothers in it. Yep. I came back just to be close to them and figure out what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. I moved on my 25th birthday. I moved here, and I had got into commercial or real estate investing down in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Buying rental houses and things like that. Really dug it. And real estate has so many different ways you can do it. You know, I do it differently than my family, my dad, my brothers. I really, really enjoy it. And so I got my license with Schoneman Realtors, and I started selling real estate in 2003. I've lived here pretty much since then. For a couple years, I moved to Clear Lake with my brother Cody.
Okay.
And then when I got married, I moved back over here. A little before I got married, I moved back over here.
Right.
And I've lived in the southeast part of Mason for the last, we closed like 5 days after my wedding, which is not advised.
Your wife's Holly, you have a couple daughters, correct,
yep,
Brett?
Yep.
And how are they doing? Everything's great with the family, and
crazy
she's a school teacher, right? Your wife's a school teacher.
Yep, she's a first grade teacher at Hoover Elementary. She's a great teacher.
Right.
And our kids are crazy 2 daughters, 3 and 2. So
absolutely. So you're a busy guy.
I am.
You got kids at home. You got a career going.
And my if I have some motive with the council is that I've enjoyed being in business. I've been involved in a lot. I want to make this community a place that want my kids to grow up in, and their kids, and so there's a lot of challenges. There's some good things going on. There's challenges too,
right?
And
we're going to get to those points.
Yeah, and the big thing is I don't know everything that we're dealing with as far. I don't have it all figured out.
Right.
And if I had it figured out, it'd be great.
If we all had the answers, we wouldn't need meetings and discussion. We just go ahead and do it. So
absolutely,
the democratic process, and this is kind of part of it. Talking with folks that want to get on the board, want to get elected to office, and just finding out where they're at and what they're all about. And I think the community would be interested to learn about you, Brett.
You bet.
So let's go on to the next point here. What are the most important issues facing Mason City at this time? And for example, I'll throw some things out just to jog your memory. Not that you need it, but some would say jobs, some would say crime, some would say a big one may be amenities, quality of life.
Very good.
Our gateways into the city aren't maybe as attractive. Not speaking on the west side per se, Brett, but you could see there's maybe potential on the south side.
Yep.
Our north gateway is pretty much a disaster. I would say that's my words, not putting that words in your mouth, but it's not attractive. It's not going anywhere. And then even into Nyack, the east side is there's maybe potential there. It's not a disaster at all by any stretch, but there's potential there. So we've spent a lot in the downtown core area, but maybe not there. And then also, Brett, I would throw in there protecting and growing the tax base. You might talk about building a sense of community. Population loss has been a big problem here, Brett. We continue to slide.
Yep.
I wonder if that's on your radar. So speak to me on those points, could you, Brett, or throw in your own?
No. There's a lot of things there.
Yeah,
I mean, that could be a half-hour talk, and I'd love
absolutely
to have it to you. Not today.
We're never out of time here, but yeah, go right ahead. You tell me what you want.
Can I just?
Please.
Let's talk about jobs.
This is your time with the people in North Iowa and Mason City, the third ward. You're telling them, so I'll stop you when you stop yourself. So go right ahead.
No problem. A city has kind of, you need jobs, you need quality of life, you need good schooling, you need safe community. It's kind of a bouquet of services.
Right.
And once you grow one, it exposes a need in another. So if we had a population growth of 10,000 people,
I was going to say,
and we kept the same amount of police, we're going to have a crime problem.
Yeah.
So it's an ongoing dynamic thing like that. Population loss is the number one on me. Okay.
Is that your big one? Okay, population. I want to asterisk that, but you can keep.
Absolutely, because we.
Well, Brett, you're a realtor and you have rental properties, so of course you want to make sure that we all have fill that need, and so that I understand that, not in a selfish way, but I understand what you're saying.
More than that, we have a certain budget that we have to meet at the city, and if we keep losing more people, we have fewer people to take the brunt of that budget.
Certainly.
So taxes will go up.
So tax base is another.
And that's the other flip side of that.
Sure.
There's two things that if we have economic development.
Certainly.
New businesses coming to town, building new buildings, fixing up our old buildings is even more cost effective because the infrastructure is already there.
And you don't want to lose, to the other point, Brent, that I listed, Brett, a sense of community. If you start tearing down our historic treasures.
You can't build those again.
Right. They're gone for good, and then you can't recognize the town anymore.
And even aside from that, from the emotional sense of that, it's cost effectively the most bang for the buck is to fix up an old building, tax divided by square footage.
Okay.
When you build a new Walmart, and we have studies I can show you that Main Street Iowa came up and did studies on our buildings. If you build a new Walmart, the taxes divided by the square foot is actually quite low. Okay.
I don't doubt that for a minute.
But when you look at one of these cool buildings downtown, what that brings into the city divided by, it was already there. It's cool as heck architecturally. We even get tourism because of these buildings.
Certainly.
And it actually makes more money for the city. It's a win-win-win.
Okay.
So even if you're not an architecture fan and you think it's an ugly old building, do it for the bottom line.
Right.
And so yes, I'm really into restoring these old buildings just from a dollars and cents mind.
Okay.
Growing the tax base. If you keep the population the same and you grow the tax base, people's taxes, in theory, should go down.
You'd think so, right?
There are some, as we grow, there's varying costs, the variable costs.
Right.
Like if you grow a business and you get more sales, you probably have to hire more people, and so it's not always exactly like that. It's a variable expense.
Right.
But in the most sense, if you're going the other way, it's very real. You're going to leave the existing citizens here with the increasing taxes.
Let me ask you a question, Brett. What about, and this is a little slightly more serious point, that we missed out on an opportunity here in Mason City when Winnebago Industries was looking to expand. They were seeking out a building, a venue. They wanted to bring, was it 98 jobs, I thought it was, that were on the line, and they came to Mason City. They toured a building, as I understand it, and next thing you know, they're announcing they're going to Waverly.
Sure.
Can you help me with that? As a council member, as an elected person, Brett, if you get on the council and also you have an appointed position to an important economic development board, that's the people are trusting. That's our only avenue for economic development. We don't have a person in the city that does that. We don't have another agency for that. How would you sell Mason City, and how would you win over an outfit like Winnebago next time?
You bet. The Winnebago came to town. I didn't get to work with them in my business as a commercial broker.
It was prior to yours, so you're not on the line with that. I'm asking in the future. Right.
EDC, I wasn't with the EDC then, but even as a commercial broker, that's what I do sometimes. Is I get to deal with those businesses come to town.
Excellent.
I didn't get to work with that customer,
right?
So I am not privy to what building they looked at. I do know that they found,
It was an example. I'm talking, Brett. Next time.
Absolutely.
Next time we got an opportunity, Brett, are you going to be able to, as in your capacity as an economic developer now, with your expertise and then as an elected official, are you going to be able to see that we don't slip up next time?
There isn't somebody that's better qualified for that. That's my job as a commercial broker, is to put businesses in town.
Certainly.
So if you're talking about...
You're an expert.
Absolutely. That's my job. And so if I was dealing with them, I will tell you, you can't force somebody to come to town. If they had if they're going to build a new building,
can't you make the deal better, so good as a salesperson? You're a salesperson too, right? You sell property. You've been doing that for a long time. I hear you're pretty good. You've got a former mayor working for you, Tom Jolis,
yes,
right?
I do.
So they're coming to you, Brett. So you're moving up the ladder here. How are you going to win next time? How are we going to win next time?
Absolutely. I don't know what building they showed, and you're only as good as the
forget about
seller.
It's only an example, though.
Okay,
Brett.
okay.
It's only an example. How do we win? Not Winnebago, but next. Let's say there was an old joke a long time ago that Toyota wanted to come to town. It was kind of a blown out of proportion situation that was never going to happen, but people still think that was really the case. How are you going to win next time when whoever is going to pick? McKesson chose Clear Lake over Austin. Scott Flory and his team made that happen. Brett, how are you going to do that?
You can use the best tools that we have.
Okay.
And the tools that we all have, and when I say we, is probably all Iowa. We have tools of TIF.
Certainly.
We have tools that the city has the ability to help with infrastructure.
Good point.
Sewer, water. These are the typical tools that those customers, when they're looking at 8 different communities, we're all throwing them the same stuff.
Right.
If we're all selling the same stuff,
good point.
Then why do that? Give them the rest of the package.
Right. How are you going to? Right. Not
the
only,
rest of the package
for
North Iowa. Yeah, it is. This is a little.
And it's a tough. I think that's a tough question, and I don't.
So
mean
the
to put
answer,
you on the spot,
I think my answer is that you sell them on the rest of the package. You sell them on the quality of life in Mason City. You sell them on that we have more parks per square mile than because of the river. We have some floodplain issues, and we have some great parks because of it. We have some great trail systems. These are things that are an expense, but they do make it in the bottom line, because when they're moving 90 people into town, those people, they got to live here. We want to show how good our schools are, so making that a priority to make sure that our schools are well funded.
Sure.
And are just given the attention they need.
Okay. Very good. Yeah, and it's like I said, I asked that kind of question, Brett, because to me it was a glaring loss. We really got our butts kicked by Waverly, and we lost out on potentially up to 100 jobs.
We don't know what that building over there was. In all defense, I don't know what happened there, but if there's a cheap building that they're ready to go into, Winnebago wants to get to work.
Right. And it's too bad that our city leaders, our city fathers and our economic developers didn't talk about building them a new building. We have a lot of vacant,
do you know how much that costs?
Shovel-ready land that I've heard over and over from our corridor out on the south side of town, 43rd Street out there. We've got Alliant coming in. We made a deal with them. Somebody made a deal somehow. They're building out there. There's. So I'm just wondering, the sky's the limit, I guess. But
so let me just answer that right on there. To build a new building would take them at least a year, to build that. And so Winnebago starts paying from day one, and they don't have a place to work. And so they do that sometimes, but they prefer an existing building, because you can buy an existing building. Larson Manufacturing sold for
a lot of vacant buildings, Brett, sitting out in our old core industrial park along 15th Street there.
Which one?
Well, that's a good question, Brett. But was there Alexander Battery sitting empty there, Brett? Did they go out of business?
I'm not sure what they did, but Jeff Tierney owns that building.
Right, and again, it doesn't matter.
He runs J&J.
Yeah, I had to jog my memory, but as I recall, there was an outfit called Alexander Battery that did employ 100 people, but there was a piece of property there with an existing. They did light manufacturing there, some type of putting things. And not to get into a debate with you here, but I think that
I'm asking questions too.
Yeah, and ask me some questions. That's fair, totally fair. I'm just wondering, there are buildings around town that are sitting that could have been used. I think that or a starting point.
I don't. That's my business. Anytime, and that's why I have a relationship
and you know more
with the
than
EDC.
I would. I don't go around looking for this stuff.
No, and that's what I drive around. I
just think that industrial park area there, maybe wasn't.
It's full.
Is it full right now?
We are.
That's a great point.
When you have people come into town and you say, "Hey, we need 20,000 square feet," I'm struggling, Matt. And that's really good.
Yeah.
That's really good. That's why our shovel-ready site down in South is the next step.
We did do a deal, I believe, Brett, with Cargill out in the 4th Ward. They expanded.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a building that didn't fit exactly, but working with the city, probably even with the corridor, they were able to expand, add workers. So there's no one-size-fits-all, I think, would be my answer if you're asking me. But I think, why not... we're going to build a hotel over here. We're going to build a hockey rink, and those aren't there right now either. So,
a used building is about 10 cents on the dollar.
Okay.
Think about that. If you could go buy a $100,000 house, or build a $100,000 house, or you could go buy a $10,000 house.
Right.
Put those into real numbers. It's real money.
Yeah.
And so Winnebago's smarter than all of us combined. Okay. They're a big business.
They know the RV business, and I don't.
They know business too.
I've set foot. Yeah, no, they're a highly successful business, and that's really the crying shame, Brett, is that we weren't able to put together some type of a creative package to lure them. I don't know what Waverly has that we don't have.
They had a building.
They probably have. Buildings can go up too. I would differ with you on this, Brett. I think that a building, some type of something could have been found. I think
a building like that would cost about $120 to $150 a square foot to build.
We're giving away everything. We're giving away the world to have a five. We're going to build a parking ramp downtown, Brett. We're going to build a commercial, residential, multi-use building on the corner of 2nd Street and North Federal. There, we're going to build a hockey arena. We're going to give U.S. Bank $12 million for free to own that building, and we get to lease it back. Mm-hmm. So you're talking about building a building, Brett. There's no jobs coming with the hockey arena, hardly. I mean, who's going to work there? The janitor? The guy
That's the amenities part of this. That's the amenities
part
of that
so
list that you gave me.
We're going to have to differ.
That's not under the initiative of job creation. So yeah, you're right. That's not for
the arena's not going to have economic development, though.
Yeah, absolutely. That's part of the bouquet of services. That's the amenity part of it.
I would argue, Brett, that 98 jobs is a way better return on investment than a hockey arena. I would have rather had Winnebago come to Mesa City as a. If I was on the council, I would have wanted.
We can do both.
We should have done both. Maybe we should have rolled out the welcome. Don't you think we should have rolled out the welcome rug for Winnebago for 98 jobs? I'd have built a building for them. Personally, Brett, I don't care what it costs. Within reason, I would have built the building. I would have found a spot on 43rd Street or in the existing. We've seen FedEx build out there. I don't know where they got there. Didn't they rebuild and redo their whole thing out there?
That was a spec building in that. And then they bought it after that.
Yeah, it's too bad we didn't have a spec building. I've heard shovel ready from our various corridor leaders. All I hear from the mayor and all those cronies is shovel ready this, shovel ready that, and there's no spec building.
Do you know what shovel ready means?
Infrastructure out there, probably streets, access, I would say.
No.
Okay, define it for me.
Absolutely. There's a huge difference.
Okay.
A shovel ready site means that they've already done the environmental studies.
Right,
and
very good point.
Those take over a year, sometimes 2 years. So if Winnebago, think of a
the
technology company.
path is cleared then for
absolutely.
To build.
And so if a company wants to come in and build on a regular lot that has infrastructure and road up to it, they have to do those studies. Right. And they might come up negative. And then in the meantime,
we're seeing that right now, Brett, along the 122 pathway heading east. I think they're working to expand that road and change that curve there. So that's, to your point, they're going through all that red tape with the feds to clear the environmental path to widen that road. It's not the same, but I'm going to your point.
It's not the feds. That's the state DOT.
But there's federal regulations that play into that too, because I talked to the lady from Des Moines that it's apples to oranges. But I'm just trying to agree with you on that point that there's to do a project of any kind, you've got to get through the environmental portion.
Just
of it.
As far as the communication, I want you to know. It's important that you know what shovel ready means.
Yes. Yeah, and I understand that there's environmental.
I had to learn it somehow. So no harm in learning something.
No, I mean, you're not educating anyone today, Brett. I understand that there's obviously environmental aspects to these projects, and like I said, I covered the fact that we're looking to expand Highway 122 to change that, and to do that project, we have environmental issues that we've been jumping through. They're working on it right now.
Sure. Yep.
That's why they have the engineers down there, and the. I guarantee if you look it up, there's federal environmental rules that they're following for that.
Of course they are.
So is there federal regulations involved with the shovel ready, or is that only state then, to your point?
Environmental.
For the shovel ready stuff, is there more to the shovel ready than just environmental points, or is there more to that then?
Well, they've done an environmental phase 1,
okay,
and there would be a subsequent phase 2 if it required it.
Right.
It would go through the SHPO and make sure that it's ready to build. And actually what it means is it's ready to build. That's a big difference between a lot right next door that hasn't had that.
Mm-hmm.
They can go in there and start building. And
right, so it doesn't involve access to that location?
No.
Doesn't involve access? Doesn't involve any type of preparation with the water and the power and all that? There's none of that that's involved in a shovel-ready site then?
No, it's all out at the road.
So it's only the environmental part, is what you're saying?
Well, they don't shovel-ready a site that doesn't already have the infrastructure up to it.
Right, that was my original point, was that you got to prep all that infrastructure. I mean,
No, you don't shovel-ready a site that doesn't have infrastructure there already.
Okay.
Well, you wouldn't go to that
right.
expense and time to do something that you didn't have water and sewer, but that's not part of it.
Okay.
But yes, you shovel-ready sites that already have the infrastructure.
Okay. Well, let's move on from that. Yeah, and obviously, Brett, you know what you're talking about.
Absolutely. And that's not something I'm not trying to
No, it's a good discussion.
But that's
absolutely.
the stuff we deal with in EDC. And that's why I'm on that board.
Okay, well, we're going to get to that. Brett, you were appointed by our mayor, Eric Bookmeyer, to the Airport Commission. Can I ask, do you have a pilot's license?
Nope.
Do you own an airplane?
No, I'm going to get my
pilot's
license.
let me just finish here, Brett. Describe to me your qualifications. Why did Mr. Bookmeyer pick you for the Airport Commission?
Most of what we do at the airport is leasing, building, of buildings and land, and development and the utilization of the assets that we have at the airport. That's exactly what I do in business. And so if you've looked at the packets of what we deal with.
Person, that's why he chose you then?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Brett, just, I've done some reporting lately. I've noticed that you've had some absences from the airport board.
Mm-hmm.
Could you just, we don't have to dwell on it for a long time, but could you just explain your attendance record at the airport commission?
Sure. I've been named the president of Visit Mason City. Those meetings are the same night. And
they are?
Yes, they
are. At the exact same time?
Absolutely. There's the Visit Mason City
on the same, because they only meet once a month at the airport commission. So that Visit Mason City.
Yes.
Wouldn't that be a problem though with the mayor even selecting you if you're already serving on a board that serves on the exact same night? That he didn't know that?
I wasn't on Visit Mason City at that time. We've changed schedules too.
Well, you had to get on one or the other first. Which one were you on first?
I think I was on the commission.
You were on Visit Mason City first, weren't you?
I think I was on the
I remember
first.
seeing you there a couple years ago in the boardroom there.
I've been on both of them for 3 years. I think it's a little longer than that.
Okay.
I'd have to look back. I don't remember. But
okay. How often does Visit Mason City meet?
They meet monthly.
Just once a month, that's it?
I don't know. I believe so.
They
send out our packets.
Okay, you've been on 3 years. I'd expect you to know that. How are people appointed to the Visit Mason City then, Brett?
The staff and the board make selections. We have a committee with Visit Mason City that looks for when we have an opening. Sure. We make suggestions. We talk about them, and And we contact people, see they'd be interested.
Sure. Is it important to have good attendance at your meetings?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that going to overlap with your council? Is your Visit Mason City and your airport commission appointments and your corridor appointment? Is that going to interfere with your?
I'm not on the council yet. I'm running for council, and so when that happens, and I see what that's like, I may consider if there's redundancy in the way I can serve.
Sure.
I may consider stepping down from some of these.
From something, boards. Right? Because you're a busy guy. You got a business, family, and then all these.
And that's why I'm running for city council. It's the most effective way for me to help the city.
Absolutely, very good. Why don't you you kind of listed a few of these, but do you want to give us any more of your qualifications for elected office? Do you want to go through anything else anything else? I mean, we know you're already serving on some boards. You're a business owner. You're a family man. Anything else you want to?
The important things to the city. The airport's important to the city.
Okay.
Served on that board. I know the airport. Visit Mason City. I've served under that board, and it's past president now.
Right.
And I understand tourism. That's a very important part of this.
Absolutely.
I'm involved in economic development through my business, and recently have become on the board for that.
Sure.
That's another part of this. I help downtown with Main Street, Mason City. That's important to the city.
Right.
I've served on these different parts of the city, and just to know them better and to serve under them.
Right.
So
you're becoming more well-rounded over the years.
Yeah.
Right.
And I want to be able to give back the most efficient way that I can and continue being in business and being with my family.
Very good. Let's touch on one more point here, Brett. You've had some lateness with your taxes over 5 years. Can you give us any points on that?
It's pretty simple. In the last couple of years, I've really pushed myself with personal investments. And guilty as charged, it's been a cash flow problem. And I paid my bills.
Certainly.
I don't owe anything now. I paid the late fees. Anybody that runs a business understands that.
Absolutely. I appreciate that answer. I think that's an honest answer, Brett. I don't think you were ducking anything there. And I think that with you are building some good things. We talked about prior to the meeting, you have that now I've learned that's a 7 apartment operation you have there on, what is that, 2nd Street or 4th? 4th Street there by the fire station.
Yep, north of Pastime Gardens.
So, no, I honestly, Brett, I really appreciate that answer. I think that's a fair answer, and I congratulate you on your economic development there and actually improving that corner.
Thank you.
So, very good.